In other news, the community of Deelpan in Northwest say they're frustrated by government departments and have challenges relating to damaged roads, temporary shelter, permanent housing and clarity on food parcels after intense flooding there. Residents are still rebuilding their homes. Others are just destitute. They're asking to be helped by neighbours, friends and family. Our reporter Refiloe Seboko joins us now. Refiloe, good afternoon to you. What kind of position are these people in?
Good afternoon, Stephen. They are very lost. As we were talking to them earlier, they are saying that they are still waiting, some of them, to be assisted by different and relevant departments following those floods that happened. To remember that early this year in April, the area of Deelpan was also hit by floods. And last month, rather October also, we saw, because of the heavy rains that we have been experiencing recently, that area yet again was hit by floods. Residents, some of them were destitute, some had to ask to be accommodated by family and friends, including neighbors. What we saw also this week, Stephen, was that the department, several departments in the Northwest Province that are supposed to be helping those residents, that includes the Department of Social Development in the Northwest Province. We saw MEC Bitumelo Mwilwa together with MEC of Public Works and Transport, Mr. Mulapisi, and also with MEC of Human Settlement and Local Governance, Lena Mecha. They had visited the area of Deelpan to go and assess the extent at which floods had hit that area. Allow me to welcome MEC Mwilwa, MEC of Social Development in the Northwest Province. Thank you so much for your time and welcome to Newzroom Afrika. That visit on Monday, when you assessed the situation in Deelpan, what is it that you guys found there?
Thank you very much for coming again and giving us this interview, so that we are able to give clarity on what is happening in Deelpan. When we were there on Monday with my colleagues, we had a meeting with the community, and the community raised their concerns that in social development, to be specific, that the food parcels were not enough for some of them. Some of them did not receive them, and others were complaining about the food parcels, saying that some of them had expired. And what we realized, and the responses that we gave to them, was that you'd remember during that time we had several stakeholders which were in partnership with ourselves that were also giving out food parcels in that area. You'd remember that ShopRite was part of them, Gift of the Givers was part of them. So we said to them, when Gift of the Givers came to start with the issue of some of them not receiving food parcels, is that they did not want to follow the process of social development. They decided to issue these food parcels themselves. But when they realized that the community is complaining, they then resorted to come to us so that we can assist them, because we do profiling.
And in your profiling, MEC, how many households that were affected, how many that you were able to assist, and those that you have still not been able to reach out to? I think another thing in terms of food parcels, when we were engaging with residents there, they were saying that these food parcels, they are not enough because they don't, start with them. There's an allegation that they first stop by the chief, who does not get to distribute these food parcels to the relevant people.
You would remember that first time when this thing happened, most families, around 89 or so families, were evacuated from their homes. Some of them were staying at the chief's hall, some of them were staying in the church, and some of them were staying in our center. Those who were having kids, small kids. So the reason why some of the food parcels went there was precisely to go and they can be able to be prepared for those who are staying in the halls. But after that, what we did, you'd remember that as social development, we go to households, and that's what we explained on Monday, that what we do, we don't call all of you into one place like Gift of the Givers would do and ShopRite would do. We dignify our people by giving them food in their homes. So those ones who did not receive food are the ones who were not profiled and verified. But now, we had a meeting even on the 10th, even before all of us with my colleagues went there. A social development, because we are on the ground every day in that area. We went there, we had a meeting with them, and then the local leaders, the chief and the councillors, to say, you know what, those who are left behind, because the outcry there is that some of them did not receive at all. Those who did not receive food parcels should be profiled. That was on the 10th, and then there was an agreement. But when we were there, those who complained, immediately in that meeting, we took their numbers, we took their identification to say that let's go and profile as social workers so that we don't find ourselves having to have a challenge of people who did not receive food parcels, but they are supposed to get them. But also, maybe to explain it further, we further explained to them that, you know what, there are those who are receiving grants. You must understand as the community members that those that are receiving grants, those that are receiving elderly money, it means that those ones will be double dipping. We are looking at those ones who are not receiving anything at all, but also the ones who are receiving, say for instance, there's an elderly person who received the pension payout there, the grants from social development, and she or he is staying with more than 5 kids in the household. Those ones are also benefiting from social development.
How much money was budgeted for or allocated to be able to help flood-hit areas? Deelpan is not the only area in the Northwest Province. I'm talking Khanyisa, I'm talking Setlagole. How much money is the budget altogether of the social development? How much has been used and how much is still yet to be used?
You would remember, social development, we don't budget for the floods because we respond to even those who are not able to bury their loved ones. So it's clear that in social development, whatever budget we have, the SRD that we buy, we cater for each and every one. So let me be specific. In Deelpan, the budget that was used is around 500,000 that was used, because you remember that we only bought the blankets and then food parcels for Deelpan. But because there were other stakeholders that assisted us, we were able to spend that much. But in other areas, if there's a disaster in any other area, the province, the first call comes to us as social development, because we would want our people, even if there's a burnt house, if the food has been burnt there, and there's floods, and then the food are in the water, in their houses, that's when we come in as social development. So our budget specifically, we don't say this is the budget for disaster, because we work from time to time with every disaster in the province.
MEC, thank you so much for your time. That is MEC Boitumelo Stephen of Social Development in the Northwest Province, are saying that around 500,000 was used for the floods that had hit at the Deelpan area, and they're yet to go back into the areas such as Setlagole and Khanyisa, Deelpan as well, to go and do more assessment into the extent and what more else that they need to do as the department.
Refiloe Seboko, thank you very much indeed. Live from Northwest for you this afternoon.